let me, speaking of the commissioner, let me get my notes here on Deshaun Watson. Talked to a source last night, and the source is involved in the conversation here. And I said, is it fair to say that the punishment starts at a 1-year suspension for Deshaun Watson? And I was told yes. That's where the negotiations start. Now, it could be more, and it could be less. But they're also saying, this is a new process, that the commissioner doesn't hear this. He hears the appeal. There's no precedent here. They want to bring up, my source said the NFL Players Association will bring up Daniel Snyder, will bring up Robert Kraft, and will bring up Ben Roethlisberger. That's going to be part of, from what my source said, the NFL Players Association, their approach will be to bring up these cases in as far as discipline. Also, my source said you got to, and also therapy would be, that would be part of this. You would get a 1-year suspension and be required to go into therapy for this, from what I'm told. Now, the other part of this is the Texans, according to my source, were enablers. To what degree, that is something that's been unreported or hasn't been reported very much at all. You let him use a facility, and really what changed, did the Texans provide a safe place for him? Then the pandemic hit. Well, then that's when Deshaun Watson went on Instagram looking for these massage therapists, or at least that was their title. But the Texans' role in all of this, because how did they feel when Deshaun Watson decided that he didn't want to play there anymore, that you're helping him and then he doesn't want to play there anymore? And that's been unreported, or there's been very little reporting done on the Texans' role in this. And does the commissioner go after the Texans for their role in this? But I was told that it's starting at a year. This is what the NFL is concerned about. Let's say you give him 12 games, and then there's more accusers that come forward. Then you have, they don't want to be, they're worried this is going to drag on, and that's why I think that there was pressure to settle, but you couldn't settle the other 4. And I said to my source, if you said a player, any player, has 4 civil lawsuits, he's facing 4 civil lawsuits for sexual assault or sexual misconduct, that'd be a big deal. We feel like, hey, settled 20 of them. Okay. And here's the other thing my source said. If Deshaun Watson had settled these from the start, he doesn't think Deshaun Watson gets disciplined. Deshaun's, attorney, Rusty Hardin, wanted to fight this, keep his name in the news. And
I think you nailed that one.
That's why they are where they are. But you start with a year, and then it's a sliding scale one way or another here. But that's what my source said last night, and then I reconfirmed this morning because I wanted to make sure I got the language correct with all of this. Yes, Eaton.
So settling right away rather than fighting it looks less guilty?
Well, he thought that this just goes, we move on. It is terrible in the moment, but we move on. Because we move on from everything, it feels like. I mean, we moved on from Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, I still mentioned his name right now.
Well, they got to use that. They got to use that to say, well, you gave him 6 games and went down to 4 in what he was accused of. Robert Kraft, what happened to him? Also, the owners and front office people, according to my source, they're supposed to be held to a higher standard. Well, Daniel Snyder, he didn't get suspended a year.
I don't know that Robert Kraft did the same thing either, though.
No, but he also is an owner who's involved in this. What kind of discipline did he really, do you fine him? Like these guys they're not held to a higher standard. At least this is what the argument that they think is going to happen. Yeah. I don't have the answers to this. I'm just going by what I was told, that they're going to use these other cases to say, all right, can you get him down for a year? My source said, look, the NFL Players Association, they have to defend Deshaun Watson just from the standpoint of we defend every client, or they're going to defend every client. And my source said, we don't know what they're going to bring up. We assume that they're going to bring up these other cases here because there's no precedent here. Yes. Yeah, Paul.
The Patriots owner Robert Kraft was charged with prostitution or contributing to prostitution, and those charges were dropped.
Yeah.
But he was charged with Deshaun Watson that yet to be charged.
Yeah. There's a lot going on with this. There will continue to be. The fact that you have 4 that may not settle, and then what happens after that. But the discipline and the fact the longer this goes, it feels like the NFL is going to hold firm to that. You're going to sit down for the entire year. Can't touch his money. Can't touch his signing bonus. He's only getting a little more than $1 million this year to play. But, yeah, that's sort of where we are right now. Yeah, Todd.
I don't see any scenario. I kind of agree with Seton. Quickly settling looks absolutely horrible, and I'm not so sure that would go away so fast. Certainly not from an image standpoint. Maybe in the what the suspension is or being able to get back on the football field. But if you quickly do that,
it's not the right move in the moment. From this, where you go, oh my gosh, we're going to never let this go. If I would have said to you, hey, a year later, how much are we talking about Deshaun Watson? You probably aren't. I mean, that's the reality of this. You might say, I'm going to always hold that against him. And you might, but my source said he believes if Deshaun Watson had settled immediately, he might not have been disciplined. Which is crazy. Yeah, Paul.
The tough part about the NFL and settling and not settling in most lines of work, like the NFL can punish you when there's no charges against you, when the grand jury doesn't indict you. And that doesn't matter to the NFL. They can levy their own type of punishment, and they're their own appeals court. So you're really, it's a really weird thing. You're playing the legal game, but then you're playing the NFL's game, which is totally separate.
And you have, so the new collective bargaining agreement, you have a judge who's going to hear this. If there is an appeal, Roger Goodell hears the appeal. He doesn't have final say now, but he could have final say in all of this.